Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the school board meeting this evening. So happy to have all of our guests here with us tonight. We have a very busy meeting ahead of us, and we'll get right down to business. Jalen, will you introduce us?
Sure. Good evening. We request that all cell phones and pagers be turned to vibrate or turned off during the course of this meeting. Thank you. It has become a tradition to honor our nation at each of our board meetings by presenting the colors and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. The colors tonight are being presented by the National Junior ROTC Color Guard from the greatest school on earth, Booker T. Washington High School, under the direction of Chief Angel Malone and Lieutenant Commander Alexander. Please rise and remain standing for the presentation of colors and the reciting of the Pledge of Allegiance. We will now have our presentation of colors.
Halt! Halt! Left! Hey! Raise hands! House! Ready! Out!
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order! House! Ready! Cut! Out! Eight! Forward! Out!
Thank you. You may be seated.
This evening, we have a slight modification to our agenda for a very special presentation, and leading us off in that special presentation, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Campson.
Thank you. 60 school years ago, in the 1958-1959 school year, the Norfolk School Board decided to chain and padlock 6 all-white schools, 3 high schools and 3 junior high schools, on the first day of school to prevent 17 African American children from attending those schools. Finally, on February 2nd, 1959, exactly 60 years ago this month, the chains and padlocks were finally removed, and 17 brave African American children walked into all 6 of those white high schools and middle schools in Norfolk for the first time, beginning the total integration of Norfolk public schools. I've always found it ironic that it was children who led the way in the integration of our schools across our country. It was children who had to walk through the mobs and the flashing cameras and who had to sit in isolation throughout their school years. What would it be like to do that? How strong and brave would a child need to be to change our country's history? Well, we are very fortunate tonight to have one of these, now all grown-up children, here with us tonight to share her story of just what that was like. All the members of today's Norfolk School Board are very proud to have a member of the Norfolk 17 and a retired Norfolk public school teacher, Dr. Patricia Turner, join us tonight to share her story.
It is truly an honor to be here. My book, Today I Met a Rainbow, was written because of my beautiful classroom where I spent 16 years at Blair Middle School and other schools before then, teaching over 20 plus years. You know, as I pause for a moment, forgive me, because it is very hard to look back at that 13-year-old girl. You know, separate but equal was not equal. In the 7th grade, I attended Ruffner Junior High, not the school that stands at Ruffner now, but a school that was run down, was cold. You didn't know exactly what was happening, but we were loved. Our teachers loved us, and they taught us. My book, I was writing a book, but you see, all my degrees are in math, so I wasn't that great in the writing department. My goddaughter said to me one day, look, we need to do something with this. And my goddaughter assisted me in writing that book. And I have her with me tonight, as she was with me on the day that the book was written. Stephanie, will you join me at the mic? Stephanie was a writer, and as the song says, the wind beneath my wings. As I said, separate but equal was not equal. My mother had attended and graduated from Booker T. Washington High School in 1939. And in 1959, it still looked the same. Had no cafeteria, had heat in the summer, cold in the winter. It was just a very unusual place that I never stepped inside of, but there were children going there. I'm not going to keep you long. I'm going to condense it because I want you to read the book. This child worked hard on that book. I can only say that I was told I wasn't good enough. I would never amount to anything except to be the foot warmer to the master because of my light complexion. I was often told I wasn't good enough. And I'm repeating this because I integrated the 8th grade at Norfolk Junior High by myself. Every day, somebody spit in my face. Every day, somebody knocked the books out of my hand. Every day, I heard I wasn't good enough. Every day, I couldn't use the restroom because, you know, it's hard stuff in there. And I was told not to go to the restroom. I was given criminal charges because if I had drank from the water fountain, I would have been breaking the law. But I didn't drink from the water fountain. Every day, someone turned my lunch over. Every day, someone would abuse me. But you see, during the daytime, I was called nigger, tar baby, Charlie Brown's sister. But every night, I was called white girl, stay away from me, because they might burn a cross in my yard. So we can't play with you. I was expected to grow up at the age of 13. When the schools were closed, nowhere in the city of Norfolk would accept the 17. But First Baptist Butte Street said, they can burn us down. We're gonna let those children come here. We went to school in the basement. Mrs. Vivian Carter Mason put her money up. We had Superintendent Mrs. Mason, a principal, Mrs. Perry, and teachers volunteered because they were afraid that they could not come to teach us or the school board would have fired them. So the teachers volunteered that hadn't been hired. We had a doctor to teach us Spanish. We had one white teacher, but she was military from France. She taught us France. Remember, I wasn't good enough. I would never amount to anything. But today, I am proud to say I have a degree in nursing. I have an associate degree in accounting. I have a master's in education, mathematics. I have a doctorate in humane letters, and I have graduate work from the College of William and Mary. But I wasn't good enough, and I would never amount to anything. But I worked for Norfolk Public Schools for over 20 years. I was a pediatric nurse for over 20 years. I wasn't good enough. I wouldn't amount to anything. My teachers used gloves to touch my papers, but I wasn't good enough. My brother, who integrated to 7th grade, was Dr. Turner. His doctorate was in history. He was told he wasn't good enough. He was beat up, thrown on the side of a fence. But my brother gained a friend during that time who watched out for him with Ken Whitley. And now I'm proud to call Randy Wright my brother. But remember, I wasn't good enough. What do you think? Try reading my book and see who I really am.
Members of the school board, Dr. Turner has signed a copy of her book, and you found it when you sat down.
Superintendent's office was very gracious to purchase the books for the board.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank them for that. Have to reflect on what we just heard. We heard a moment of history, and now it's up to us in order to learn from Dr. Turner and her experiences. And as a board, we make these decisions that affect the children who are putting in these positions each and every day. There's another guest that we have tonight that's going to make a special presentation. I'd like to introduce Mr. Randy Wright. He is a former councilman, and he is now the executive director of the Norfolk Cosmopolitan Foundation Board. Mr. Wright.
I'll set these books over here.
Mr. Wright, could we always also have Dr. Turner come back
Yes.
for the presentation?
Yes, come on. First off, at the instigation of Cosmo Lauren and Cosmo Noel, we were glad to take this task upon ourselves. Myself being the chairman of the foundation, we have inscribed in here, we have enough books, we think, for each school in the city to have one of these. And it reads, gifted by Norfolk Cosmopolitan Club in honor of Dr. Patricia Turner, Norfolk 17, February the 20th, norfolkcosmo.org. And so we just hope that that'll help that our incoming generations will have a chance to read what this lady has accomplished on her behalf. And so I would be remiss if I didn't make a couple of personal comments, as I was personally involved when that took place. Her brother was in my class, and school board member Jordan, there was Eddie Jordan was also in my class, and I think that you're not related at all? Oh, okay. Well, well, I was giving you some real credit. No, that's not what I'm saying, because I liked him. James Skip Turner, her brother, was in my class. I was in the 7th grade, so I was impacted by the massive resistance when schools were shut down myself. And so she was being 1 grade ahead of me, and so we both shared a brother through high school, through school. And so it was only natural that we became brother and sister once we lost Skip and we lost James Turner. And so it was difficult times for all of us. I am just so proud to be here tonight and just to be a small part of this dedication. And I just want to say how much I appreciate that you all as school board members have taken this upon yourselves to bring this forward and let her to do this when this is a month of Black History Month. But more importantly, this lady is truly, truly one of the civil rights leaders that's from our city and has handled herself with such impeccable ability, and I'm just so proud of her, and we thank you for letting us be here and be part of this, and we hope that the kids will enjoy reading these books, and they're sitting here. Everybody? This is Cindy, Ken, and well, you already know her, Marilyn, and Jennifer, and so we're all Cosmos, as are 2 of those sitting up there. So thank you much.
Don't leave yet.
And I have with me, who wouldn't come up, my BFF Doris, who is Stephanie's mom,
Okay.
my cousin Annie, and Miss Ruffin with me tonight.
We thought maybe that Cosmo, Lauren, might want to come down here and just join us for a picture that we want to put on.
I think we'll have the whole board. We'll have the whole board come down. We'll do a picture.
Do it. Let's do it. We'd love to do it. We'd love to do that. Yeah.
Bring your books.
Bring your books.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Look here. Come in, Sandy. Okay, you get in front of me because they can see. No, so they can see me over top of you.
Yeah, we'll be short.
Right?
Oh,
Ah, here we go. That's even better. How about that?
That's even better.
So I would just add on behalf of the Norfolk Cosmopolitan Club, we are really honored to be part of this for the whole club.
Am I a cousin?
God bless you.
Okay.
All right. Good.
That's right.
Hey,
Jen, did you get your pictures?
Yep, Randy got them. Us to go here, so
Yes,
with the board. Okay, thank you, guys.
okay, all right.
Very generous, very
You gonna take care of the distribution of the books?
Yes.
You gonna take care of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
they won't get up. Stephanie, you go with me.
You want to go?
Did you take this?
Good to see you.
Okay, come on, give it. I'm taller like you.
Did you hear that? She said, well, she's tall like me, yeah.
All right, if everybody can look this way, smile. Want to take just a couple more? Oh, sorry. I can text you, email. Thank you.
I'm excused, is that correct?
Thank you.
Any clerks left over? Okay,
Okay. Okay, now we will proceed on to the superintendent's report.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school board, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the words that Dr. Turner just spoke, because when we look at our monthly superintendent's report, we get a chance to celebrate some of the great things that are going on in our district every day. And what we also get a chance to share is how the community has rallied around public education for all children. We know we still have gaps, we know we still have needs, and we know we still have hills to climb, but we're a far cry from where we were, where not everyone was accepted in our schools. And so as I do monthly, I want to thank the Communications Department and Channel 47 for putting together this superintendent's monthly report. Sit back and enjoy lots of what's going on in Norfolk Public Schools.
Pre-K students at Richard Bowling Elementary are spending part of their class time learning Mandarin, thanks to a Chinese teacher from the Confucius Institute. 4 times a week, Ms. Zheng comes in for a brief lesson on greetings, numbers, phrases, and directions. These 4-year-olds have embraced both her and her language and are always eager to show off what they've learned.
They're so excited when she comes because it's always something new and challenging, and the way she interacts with them, she's warm, she's inviting, she gets on the floor, she doesn't want a chair set out for her, she wants to be on the floor with the kids. She puts gestures to everything so they retain it better. It is so age appropriate for teaching these youngsters her lessons and for their retention.
Oh, it's amazing. Ms. Young comes in and they always greet her ni hao. Now she taught me point to my knee, so I remember. So she interacts with them saying ni hao. They come in, they come to the carpet, and she's like one of the faculty here. She's a beautiful addition, and the children love her.
They greet me, use Chinese word. So when they say ni hao to me, I'm really excited. I feel, I teach them and they got it. I think both of us can learn something from each other. That's the important thing. And I'm very glad to here and teach Chinese, and I can learn culture from here, and I also bring some Chinese culture to them. That's really good.
Artists from the Wolf Trap Institute spent 2 weeks in 12 of our schools showing pre-K students and teachers how the arts can help with learning. Each day, the teaching artist would go through a lesson using music, dance, and props to actively engage children. This interactive instruction also gave the classroom teachers ideas to make their own lessons more fun and exciting for students.
It's been so wonderful. They're teaching us a lot of transition songs and also some different strategies for using the arts to develop our objectives that we're teaching. They asked what we were teaching, and we gave them the objectives, and she was able to create songs and new ways of approaching those objectives, which is really stimulating their problem solving and critical thinking skills. So it's been real helpful to me.
Our goal is to really bring the arts to bring STEM alive in the classroom. So help teachers learn how they can use the arts to reach young children and to bring the STEM concepts, math, science, engineering, technology alive for young children. When we use the arts to engage them, they really blossom, they really come alive, they interact, they engage, they learn.
After a year off, Norfolk Technical Center's carpentry class is back in full force. These carpentry students have partnered with the Friends of the Norfolk Public Library to build 20 free little libraries that will be distributed throughout the city. This valuable opportunity not only enables these students to hone their skills, but it also provides the chance for them to give back to the community.
It gives them the experience to build structures and how to weatherproof and put in doors and hardware, and it hits a lot of the competencies that VDOE covers for our kids, and it also gets them in the community, involved with community partners. And so that partnership with the library and the schools, and then our school as well, it's just a cool experience for the kids to be a part of.
It was a long process, but it was kind of easy when you get the hang of it. But we had to do a lot of cutting. Carpentry is like a natural thing to me. So like I grew up doing it. I grew up building stuff, I want to keep on pursuing that and going to my own business. It's a good thing. Like, it makes me feel good about myself.
Something that we've done is actually being made public. Last year, not everyone even knew carpentry was in this school. This is its first year back in action. And now we're actually doing something that's going to be out in public. It's great.
It feels really great. You get to learn something new, new experiences. I actually learned a few stuff I didn't know about, like some tools I didn't even know existed. So it's really exciting, like when you get to work with these kinds of tools. Like you get a first hands-on experience, which is like prepares you for the future.
In addition to outstanding courses, Norfolk Technical Center also holds an annual college and career fair for all its students. This year's fair featured over 40 vendors from universities, the military, and various state and city departments. The fair provides juniors and seniors with the opportunity to seek higher education and training, and even the ability to get started on a career right after graduation from high school. Students at Granby Elementary experience science, technology, engineering, the arts, and math all day long during their annual STEAM Day. Instead of a regular science fair, these students enjoyed coding and robotics, various STEAM stations in the gym, and a drone demonstration. Everyone, including board members who were on hand to judge science fair projects, saw the benefits of students learning while having fun.
They absolutely love it. They love science. I make it engaging and hands-on for them, and it's an experience that they don't usually forget, and they come back the next year wanting more, and they get to see what other students are doing, they get to see everyone's display boards, and they get to actually do hands-on activities with their peers around them. So it's fun for them, they enjoy it, and they're learning at the same time.
Well, I think it gets them excited about science, and it makes them understand what's happening around them, and they're learning to ask why questions about what's happening in the world that's around them. And so it's very, very important, and they're all very excited. It gets them excited about learning.
Administrators from around the district gathered together to celebrate and focus on goals at the Mid-Year Leadership Institute. The agenda included a motivational speech by Superintendent Dr. Melinda Boone, updates on everyone's progress, and performances by Booker T. Washington's cheerleaders and Norview High School's award-winning NJROTC. One of the highlights of the morning was the team activity that involved scanning codes to see videos featuring the SMART Eagles of every school and department in Norfolk Public Schools.
Oh, the technology was awesome. Being able to see other videos and having everybody collectively put their work together on a page, and for us to be able to take our phones and just simply, look and view. I think it's fantastic. That's the best way to see things. It's so immediate for us.
Oh, I think it's a great asset because we don't always get to see everything that everybody does, and this allows us the opportunity to look even off school hours. It's always good to hear other ideas from other schools, see what they're doing, see what we can tweak and make our own.
I think it's great. I actually I encourage the use of technology. It was great to see the QR codes and people able to scan them on their phones and watch the different staff members' videos. That was very, very intuitive, and I think the activities are very, very much fun. Everybody was engaged, and they were using their phones and the data, so that was very, very cool.
Students at Tidewater Park were the recipients of some goodwill, courtesy of Norfolk Southern.
That's really important to Norfolk Southern is giving back to the community. And so today we had the privilege and honor of reading to the students here and just spending time helping to engage in the community and help them learn through reading and different books. I think it's important to show how much the community is involved in what we do on a day-to-day basis, but also giving back because they do so much for us as a company.
Ms. Gala and a few third graders also spent time reading The Magic School Bus.
They taught me a lot. I had no idea, and they were teaching me of different animals that were fossils in the book, and I think that they really enjoyed it. It was fun to see them stomp around, get up and participate in some of the wording and vocabulary that they learned. They're just so intelligent.
Ruffner Academy students, parents, and supporters enjoyed an evening of jazz with Norfolk State University's Jazz Ensemble. The concert served as a fundraiser, and with the help of the community, the event raised over $1,300 for Ruffner's music program. For more news stories and other information about Norfolk Public Schools, Watch NPS Now on WNPS-TV 47 or the NPS website.
So you see the many activities that our students, our community, and our administrators are committed to and engaged in each and every day. I also want to share with you that we saw the JROTC cadets who presented the colors earlier from Booker T. Washington High School. They had a chance today to meet Bill Goins, the first African-American Navy SEAL, as well as 2 other African-American SEALs. And this program, that introduction and the opportunity to meet those Navy SEALs will be featured coming up soon on NBC Nightly News. So we want to also let you know in this month of, while we set aside, the federal government sets aside a month, African American history is every day, every month, because much of our history in this country is based on the history of our African American culture. And so we're glad that our students are having that opportunity to engage and meet many others. And so, Dr. Gabriel, this concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you. Quite a lot to pack in there. Ms. Jackson, clerk's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Before I begin reading the March observances, I'd like to invite the board members to stand in front of the dais to assist in recognizing our recipients. Music in Our Schools Month. The purpose of MIOSM is to raise awareness of the importance of music education for all children and to remind citizens that school is where all children should have access to music. Music in Our Schools Month is an opportunity for music teachers to bring their music programs to the attention of the school and the community and to display the benefits that school music brings to students of all ages. I'd like to invite Ms. Danielle Roby, MPS Senior Coordinator of Music Education and Theater. National School Social Workers Week. School social workers hold a vital role in schools, providing services to students, families, staff, and the school community. School social workers invest their time, training, and expertise to remedy barriers to learning. They work with the teachers, administrators, parents, and other educators to provide coordinated interventions and consultations designed to keep students in school and help families access the support needed to promote student success. This year's School Social Work Week is March 3rd through 9th. I'd like to invite Ms. Ann Burney, Lead School Social Worker, representing MPS Department of Student Support Services and all school social workers. Youth Art Month. Youth Art Month is a month of promoting art and art education in the United States. Student exhibitions, public artworks, art festivals, and school events raise awareness and support of the visual arts to local and state education officials, business and community leaders, state and federal legislators as well. The 2018-19 theme is Your Art, Your Story. I'd like to invite Ms. Georgiana Filio, NPS Senior Coordinator of Art Education. Now I'll turn our attention to Dr. Boone.
Thank you. At the last meeting, when we normally do I recognize what are observations and celebrations to occur in the next month. We also mentioned that February and the week of February is School Board Appreciation Month. And so we certainly wouldn't allow this celebration to go unnoticed by the school district and the community as we show appreciation to our school board members who most people don't realize. You think there's a big salary associated with it? Not. Probably enough to cover your gas for the year, maybe, depending on what you drive. And I don't think most people recognize the number of hours that school board members have to put in. You've seen probably twice a month in the various public meetings, but then there are other meetings, there are committee meetings, there are things and that they have to consider, reports they have to review, and also have a public presence in the community. So I'd like to ask members of the district leadership team to join me in a very special presentation to each of our school board members to say thank you for your service and for your dedication to Norfolk Public Schools.
Thank you. Thank you. That was fun.
Madam Chair, that concludes the clerk's report.
Thank you very much. Now it is time for citizen comments on agenda and non-agenda items. When your name is called, please follow these steps. Come forward to the speaker's podium. The podium may be adjusted to suit your height. State your name and whether you have a child in Norfolk Public Schools or if you are employed by the system. State your position and give facts and other relevant data. If you represent a group or organization, ask others to rise and be recognized. Please give any written statements or supporting materials to the clerk for record. Speakers are limited to a one-time appearance of 3 minutes. When the clerk signals that your time is up, please quickly end your comments and be seated. The school board does not respond to citizen remarks at the time that they are given.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Tonight we have a total of 12 speakers. The first is Amar Skinner, to be followed by Whitney Davis.
I came to actually say that Amar Skinner would not be able to make it, and we wanted to defer our visit into another time because we can only have one visit, so we wanted to defer it for a later date as something pressing came up. I do apologize for the inconvenience. Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Whitney Davis.
Good evening, Dr. Boone, Dr. Gabriel, and members of the board. My name is Whitney Davis. I'm an NPS graduate, an NPS parent, and a former kindergarten teacher, and I will be presenting the More Recess for Virginians Norfolk petition. This petition currently has 1,273 signatures in support of more recess. Recess, or free unstructured play, is an essential part of childhood development and learning, and for the betterment of our students, should be increased in Norfolk Public Schools. Recess not only allows children to be creative thinkers and learn through play, but it also boosts cognitive development and decision-making skills. While a major factor in recess should be the option for movement, it should be differentiated from PE. The latter is structured, and recess gets its value from being unstructured, allowing children to create and choose their own ways to play and move. Recess is also crucial for a child's social emotional development, helping kids cope with stress, solve problems, cooperate with others, and grow in self-control. While some may believe that it detracts from academic performance by taking away instructional time, there is abundant research to the contrary. Recess only adds to the learning experience, and children who have more recess also have improved test scores, exhibit less behavior problems, are more attentive in class, and are less likely to experience elevated levels of stress and anxiety. Recess is critically important in education, and we are doing our children a disservice when we minimize it. We have 5 goals to improve our students' learning experience. Number 1, 2020 by 2020. For the 2019-20 school year, we want to add a morning recess period of 20 minutes and keep the afternoon recess period of 20 for a total of 40 minutes daily for the primary grades. Number 2, don't withhold recess. NPS will ensure that teachers and administrators are following the policy that states recess should not be withheld for punitive or academic reasons. Number 3, recess is not PE. NPS will recognize the two as distinct and serving different purposes. Number 4, clarify indoor recess guidelines. NPS will ensure that indoor recess allows options for movement and imaginative and social play. Number 5, recess will not take away from arts education. NPS is treating unstructured play like it belongs on the periphery when it should be central. On behalf of the over 1,200 parents and families who signed this petition, I'm calling for the board to consider a new policy with regard to recess. Stop limiting our children's education and pay attention to the research. Play is learning, and Norfolk Public Schools cannot offer the best educational experience without offering more recess. Thank you.
Next, we have Emily Ure, followed by Sarah Shellock.
Good evening, Dr. Boone, Dr. Gabriel, and members of the board. My name is Emily Ure, and I'm a Norfolk Public Schools graduate and the aunt of an NPS student. I'm here to read signers' comments from the More Recess for Virginians petition. All of these comments are from Norfolk residents. I believe that play is children learning. Christina Havlin. 20 minutes isn't enough. Jenny Wilkerson. Children need time to play and move. More movement leads to more engaged and more productive students. Brittany Suzanne. Kids need to be treated like kids, not college students. They are not built to sit all day. Let them play. Susan Fornicola. We're a military family, and we were surprised when we enrolled at an NPS elementary how little time kids get to go outside and play. Previous schools got a lot more playtime. Melissa Berry. I believe this issue is too important not to lend my support. Deborah Mundy. As a prior teacher of NPS, I've seen firsthand the lack of time children are getting for recess. There is so much social and emotional benefit from engaging in peer interaction. 10 minutes is barely enough time to start a game. Kara Pope. I believe in recess for kids and that free play is extremely valuable to their development in every area. Caitlin Millard. Research shows children need time for free play and time outdoors during the school day. Pamela Griffin. I have children that have ADHD, and I believe it will allow my youngest a chance to get out some of her energy and focus better in school, as well as for all children. Tracy Wilson. I believe play breaks are essential to learning and are a part of learning for a well-balanced child. Bonnie Kasbaum. My kids go to school in Norfolk, and I want the best for them. Casey Reed. Children need more recess. Crystal Luke. I'd like to add that I myself signed the petition because I've seen the benefit that play and unstructured free time have for my nieces. It's one of the best ways for them to develop their imaginations and grow socially and become creative problem solvers. And as many of our other speakers have said, recess is not the enemy of learning, it encourages it. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Boone, Dr. Gabriel, and members of the board. My name is Sarah Shellock, and I'm a parent of 2 Norfolk Public School students. I am a member of More Recess for Virginians Norfolk, and I'm here to read signers' comments from our petition. Unstructured play is learning for our young ones, and evidence argues that it is a critical aspect of the learning process. Thank you for hearing us. Katie George. I teach in Norfolk and feel that our children deserve more recess. 5 and 6-year-olds having recess at 3:15 at the end of the day is not healthy, and their minds are more important than test scores. Laura Merritt. My last child is graduating high school this year, but after sending 6 totally different kids through MPS, I am a true believer that recess is a necessity. My kids needed that free time to run and play, and it definitely wasn't frequent enough. Evelyn Berry-Hurst. Play is important. Jennifer Paranet. Play is learning and a vital part of childhood. Judith Dunkerley Bean from Virginia Beach. Our children deserve more free play. Carmen Mariscalco. All kids need more time to have unstructured play to allow their brains to develop. Ashley Berganino. I see recess taken away from us behaviors that could be remedied by more activity. Kids are way too sedentary, leading to obesity, disciplinary problems, etc. Erin Brogren. NPS, you can do better than this. That's from Amanda Cowson in Chesapeake. Children need to express themselves and not be put in a box. Johnny Chapman. I'm signing for my children. Play is an extremely important part of learning. Jennifer Brobst. I'm signing because unstructured play is a crucial part of education, and our schools should reflect this. Alana Holloway. For myself, my children are in 2nd grade and kindergarten, and I absolutely love our neighborhood school. I think it's wonderful, and I'm so glad to support Norfolk Public Schools and the educational opportunities that it provides for all of our residents. But I do think that there is just no research to the contrary that giving more recess won't help improve every single aspect of education for our children. So I say, let's give it a go, see how it goes. I know that it will turn out well for all of us. Thank you.
Next, we have Anna Morin, followed by Annie Bose.
Good evening, gentlemen. Well, I am here. My name is Anna Moran. I am mother from Ocean Air School. My son is Stephen Chagma. He is pre-K3. I am here because I was concerned about the changes or review in school fumigation policy due to appearance of bed bugs cases in the late 3 months. So my child was taken to the hospital showing bites of bed bugs, and also that is why I would like to you do something for periodically fumigation at school. I went to speak with the principal, and she told me that the policy only allow her to fumigation whenever she sees one bag. So she has to see one bag for like doing the actual fumigation. I think that it should be periodical. Moreover, whenever this school has 100 years of old, and I also request the possibility of improving the school infrastructure due to lack of maintenance. Just when I was talking to the principal, I saw one air vent falling down, actually, and also when you enter to the school is very clean, but if you actually walk inside, you can feel the smell, a musty smell there. So I know that this is still kind of a small school, in a small area, but I would like that you could place attention on this school too. I appreciate your attention. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good evening, Dr. Boone and members of the board. My name is Annie Bossy. I'm a graduate of NPS, and my son is a kindergartner at Larchmont Elementary. I'm also a kindergarten teacher at First Presbyterian Preschool here in Norfolk. I'm here tonight to advocate for more recess time for our youngest learners. As an educator, I know firsthand how critical unstructured play is to a child's development. Norfolk should be a leader in education, and we can't do that if we ignore research on best practices in education. If we want kids who are really prepared for life, not just for a test, we have to educate the whole child. To do this, we must allow children to learn the way they learn best, through unstructured play. So please rethink recess, and we ask for 2020 by 2020. Thank you so much.
Next we have Vicki Greco, followed by Philip Hawkins Jr.
Good evening, Dr. Boone, Dr. Gabriel, school board members, and Mr. Mitchell. My name is Vicki Manugo Greco. First, I wish to thank the school board for your efforts on behalf of our community. I'm here tonight again, as I've been on other school board nights, and in the same way I spoke this past September, when I shared concerns about poor decisions made by some of our newest school board members, as well as the new school board's chair and new vice chair, and their leadership readiness or unreadiness. As you know, I'm a founding member of Norfolk Gains, Growing and Investing in Norfolk Schools. Several years ago, I joined with other concerned citizens, including NPS parents like myself, educators and retired NPS educators like myself, NPS alum like myself, to advocate for stronger leadership accountability, competency, and stability. Sadly, our impetus was because we witnessed the revolving door of a series of superintendents and interim superintendents who exited their jobs after less than 2 years, sometimes even less. And all this less than steadfast leadership was managed by a then fully appointed school board. We founded Norfolk Gains in 2012 because we believed some appointees on the school board at the time were not leading our schools very well, but were pretty proficient being led by special interests and political pressures applied by council, and less than public decision makers who were not putting the interests of our students and schools first. We founded Gains because we saw missed opportunities by the city to recognize and commit to invest in funding and resources needed by our strongest economic development opportunity, our public schools and children. We in Gains consistently shared with the school board the 8 traits of an effective school board articulated by the Center for Public Education, and optimistically looked forward to them in our new fully elected school board. So fast forward several years later to today, an administration led by our superintendent, Dr. Boone, who has been working from her day one to right the NPS ship. I'm here tonight to share my and others' very grave concerns about the deliberations by this board that I've witnessed during work sessions and school board meetings. I have grave concerns about the leadership of this board. According to a July 2015 Forbes article, business executive Molly Kane detailed the 5 signs you're not ready to lead. Since I'm already more than 2 minutes in, I'll just stick with the top 3. You don't own bad results. Examples include the unprincipled decision to drop the pursuit of leadership, transparency, and accountability for the Norfolk Education Foundation and unaccounted for funds. Public meetings called by the school board chair that include all board members but not the public, because announcements are not made public in advance of meetings, if the public is made aware at all. 2, you already know everything. I've watched enough work sessions and business meetings to wonder if some school board members actually know the difference between their job and responsibilities and those of school administrators. 3, you waste people's time. I am bothered that governance under your leadership seems more focused on parliamentarian procedure rather than clarity of purpose. Fast-tracked and self-serving decisions for the sake of moving on rather than doing what is right. An apparent lack of doing your homework and being ready to make important decisions that require ethical behavior.
Thank you, Ms. Greco.
Thank you. Thank you for striving to do better.
Good evening. School Board Chair, Dr. Noel Gabriel, Vice Chair, Mr. Carlos Clanton, members of the Norfolk School Board, Student Representative, Mr. Mitchell, School Board Clerk, Administrative Team, Dr. Boone, Good evening. My name is Philip Hawkins, Jr., and I am the president of the Education Association of Norfolk, the EAN. I am also a proud pre-kindergarten 4 teacher and early childhood elementary educator and grade level chair at the P.B. Young Senior Elementary School with 21 years of experience with Norfolk Public Schools. First, I would like to thank you, each and every one of you, for this opportunity to speak tonight, and also to thank each of you on your dedicated service to our students, our staff, and schools in the city of Norfolk. I would also like to add a mention of thanks to Dr. Boone for having her presence at a recent conference at Norfolk State University, as well as Mr. Billups, our Executive Director of HR, at the Retaining and Recruiting Teachers of Color Conference hosted by our Virginia Education Association in partnership with Norfolk State University. A few weeks ago, educators, public education employees, elected officials of our unions, and parents, students, community leaders, and organizations from across Virginia converged on the state capitol in Richmond on January 28, 2019. We came together to wear red for ed with other Virginia Educators United to meet with state legislators to rally at the General Assembly to send a clear message to our Commonwealth that we are standing in solidarity to wear red for ed for our students, our staff, our schools, and our unions. And Virginia must now fund our future now. By investing in our schools, our students need and deserve. We have asked the state to increase our funding for students and staff with a 5% raise through higher salaries for all school employees, especially our classified and education support professionals, and also to increase funding for all SOQ positions K through 12 at the local level for our school districts. So we're calling on each of you to do your part, and I know you will agree that our schools are worth it. So we would like to plan our local kickoff of our rally for our future by giving you one of our commemorative towels from this special event. Many of you, we saw you there. We saw our sisters from NFT there and brothers. We saw many people, the PTA, so we thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bassine, I saw you there. We were all rallying and shouting together at the General Assembly Capitol, so thank you. Next, the other reason I'm here to speak tonight is to officially announce that it's time to grab your hat and come and read with the cat. NEA's Read Across America, of course you know, is coming on Friday, March 1st, but we celebrate it all week leading into March 1st. And Norfolk is going to continue on Saturday. We have our student organizations with Old Dominion and Norfolk State. We will be hosting a grant-funded giveaway, book giveaway, and craft activity event at MacArthur Mall from 11 to 4. So I hope if you haven't signed up, I think all of you have already reached out to us, and we know that you'll be in our schools reading to our wonderful students. So we thank and appreciate your partnerships as always to promote lifelong learning and reading and
Thank you,
leading
Mr.
for our
Hawkins.
students. Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Anna White, followed by Christian Zemlin.
Good evening, school board members, Superintendent Boone, and concerned citizens. I'm Mary Anna White, and I live at 600 North Shore Road. I'm also a teacher at Granby High School. I want to talk briefly about 3 key topics: funding, Foreign Language Week, and a later start time for high school students. I'm concerned about sufficient funding for our schools. We need to give raises to teachers and to our classified staff. All staff are key to the development of our students. We need more nurses, more media specialists, and more counselors. I also want to remind people that the first week of March is when we celebrate foreign languages. Since we have SOLs that week, we often take 3 weeks to celebrate it properly. At this time, it's especially important to recognize the value of people and languages from around the world, now and in the past. Lastly, I want to address the issue of a possible later start time for high school students. As a longtime teacher of teenagers, I see the reality that science will tell us. The sleep cycle for students does not match a 7:25 start time. An hour later would give students sleep that would help them reach their potential. I would like to see the numbers, though, as to how many elementary students are helped by having their older siblings at home when they get home. Almost all the high school students would benefit from a later start time. How many younger kids would be affected, however? Please do look at the actual numbers. Thank you for all your service, board members, and the opportunity to address these issues with you.
Good evening, board members. I'm Christian Semlen. I'm professor for biomedical engineering, and I have a 5-year-old daughter in kindergarten in Larchmont Elementary School. And I'm here to advocate for more recess for elementary school children, and in particular, kindergartners. I'm not part of the more recess movement, although I support their cause very much, and I think I can maybe add to it just with a personal perspective of a 5-year-old really. My daughter is a good student, and her teachers assure us that she's transitioning very well from daycare to elementary school. But still, she has very ambivalent feelings about school. She likes her teachers, she likes her classmates, and she likes learning very much. But she complains that recess is just too short. She wants to go back to her old school. And she started telling me that I should talk to her teachers, that this is no fair and she needs more recess. And when I told her that the teacher can't just change that, well, she knows the principal, she wanted me to go there. And when I told her that that also won't work, then she wanted to know who can change the rule. So I told her that would be the school board, and so her trust is in you. Yeah. So when I heard that there's this meeting, that's why I came here. And we did talk, of course, about what a possible solution is. And she asked me how much recess my students get. So these are, of course, adults. And in my experience, I've had the kind of 3-hour blocks without recess that she has, and they're always less productive than the shorter blocks that almost everybody in university uses, so about an hour and a quarter or so. So my proposal would be, instead of what they have now is a half-hour lunch break and immediately afterwards 20 minutes recess. I think first it would be better to spread them out, and I also think there should be a second recess. I would advocate for having a lunch break in the middle and 2 recesses, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. Yeah, and that proposal is approved by my 5-year-old daughter and also by several of her friends that we consulted. Thank you.
Next, we have Mr. Thomas Calhoun.
Good evening, school board members, superintendent. I just wanted to come here tonight, and I wanted to thank Dr. Boone for working with us and being so understanding of what we were doing at the end of last month. We had weekly conference calls, and I know a lot of superintendents did things a lot differently across the state. I wanted to thank you for being so helpful and making sure that everyone who wanted to get off did get off, and meeting with me ahead of time and checking with me right before to make sure that they got the opportunity to go to Richmond too. So I wanted to thank you, because that was not, it generally was okay, but there were a lot of places that the superintendent didn't feel that way. Saw you there, Ms. Basine, I'd like to thank you for the support. Not happy right now with the way things are going. 5% over 2 years is whatever. I think inflation rate is 2% a year. That's 4, and if the insurance companies go up, that's nothing. So I'm not happy with what they're doing now with on the governor's side or the Senate side. So anyway, that's another story. I want to thank you as a board and thank Superintendent personally, because you were so extremely helpful. I am concerned, Madam Chair, about public notice. I know you guys have been working on accountability. This is part of your accountability plan for you all. You're not doing too well. If we had you on one, you might be doing worse. You have to give us public notice. we don't have to ask for it. And you have to do it in a timely notice. I see there's been about 3 times since October. If that was your accountability plan, y'all do is how would that fare out? That's all. You have to give us notice. Give it to us in a timely manner, and we won't be here talking about it. Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Ellen Fitzenreiter.
Good evening. My name is Ellen Fitzenreiter. I am the parent of an awesome 14-year-old daughter who goes to Blair Middle School. She was raised in an orphanage in China. She only spoke English till she was 10 years old, and she went from kindergarten to 7th grade in Norfolk Public Schools in an amazing 4.5 years. Under IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, every child with a disability is entitled to a free, appropriate public education. IDEA emphasizes special education and related services which should be designed to meet a child's unique needs and prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living. IDEA requires schools to prepare individualized education plans which confer meaningful educational benefit to children with disabilities. The meaningful educational benefit requirement includes a focus on raised student expectations, appropriate progress, and transition into post-secondary education and independent living. Public schools and local school boards are responsible for ensuring that every child with a disability receives FAPE. What happens, I'll skip something. It is required that an IEP account for planning concerns of the parent and child and strengths of a particular child and the specific academic development and functional needs of the child. IDEA places a strong emphasis on placement in the general education setting. Under IDEA, a student is guaranteed placement in the least restrictive environment possible. Therefore, an IEP team must explore a number of alternatives for enabling a student to participate in the general education classroom. These may include classroom modifications, supplemental aids and services, and alternative instructional methods, etc. I was here last month, and I would say that for those who were here, having my daughter categorized as intellectually disabled, which means significantly cognitively impaired, is the most restrictive disability category they possibly could have placed her in, and to have her put in a self-contained special education classroom was the most restricted solution to educating her. What happens when a child is inappropriately categorized? Well, she meets some of her annual IEP goals in 1 or 2 months because she's not intellectually disabled. Her support professionals say, wow, Shui catches on really quickly. And I say, yes, because my daughter is not significantly cognitively impaired. She passes all of her VAP tests, and what VAP is the Virginia Alternative Assessment Test, alternative to SOLs. When a child is placed on VAP, you have condemned them to not graduating from high school, which is what they did for my daughter. She's not given educational opportunities in the general education setting. She is keenly aware that she is part of that group. Now, with the eyes that I have now, and I look at my original IEP, the interventions that the Taylor team said that they had done that documented her lack of progress were private tutoring that I paid for. That was not an intervention. ODU Chinese school, that was not an intervention that I paid for. She was placed in kindergarten at the age of 11. That was an inappropriate intervention. Summer school in kindergarten,
Thank you, Ms.
not an
Fitzenreiter.
intervention. An ESL culture camp, not an intervention. This is our IEP team. It's not my job to do their job for them. And the IEP teams are being led by professionals without special education backgrounds is a
Thank
problem.
you, Ms. Fitzenreiter.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, that concludes our citizen comments for tonight.
Thank you very much, Ms. Jackson, and we do appreciate all of the comments that were brought forth this evening. We are now going to transition over to our consent agenda. Of note, we are slightly modifying the agenda to add for some items taken out of the personnel report. They will be voted on separately after the consent agenda. So I would like to have a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda.
Madam Chair.
Sorry. As we're looking at the agenda, I would like to request that item 6.04 under decision discussion agenda, which is the school board accountability plan, be pulled from the school board agenda for tonight, as stated in the email that I had sent. And
point of order, Madam Chair, this is the
Can we wait and do that when we get to the decision discussion agenda?
clarification. Yeah, it's when it gets to the agenda. We're not changing the agenda.
We're just right here on the consent agenda right now.
Right.
So we have, is there a motion on the floor to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the modified additions. I make exceptions.
So, Madam Chair, prior to coming into the meeting, I mentioned to you that I had some concerns about the minutes that are listed in the consent agenda. And so, in particular, on both of the minutes where it addresses the speakers like we just heard from tonight, it does not identify the speakers by name, nor does it identify what they are, what their subject is. And I think in order for us to have complete and accurate minutes, we should do more than just say that 10 speakers spoke. We should identify the individuals and the topic that that they're addressing.
Jordan, we did state that in there. We just have a motion on the floor. We just need to have a second, and that will be considered in the
Discussion.
discussion.
Yeah. There's a second? Who was the second? Ms. Campson. Okay. So now that the motion has been made and seconded, now discussion and thank you. So, Mr. Jordan, it is, are you suggesting
that
moving forward?
And
then retroactively that we add speakers' names and their comments to the minutes?
No, I think that the minutes for September 19th and October 17th should be pulled from the consent agenda.
Okay.
They should be corrected and then brought back at the next business meeting for action.
Okay, all right. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Are there any further objections to what Mr. Jordan has proposed? Seeing that there are no further objections, Ms. Jackson, we will take out the September 19th and October 19th minutes and get them corrected.
For clarity as far as the motion, can you just restate the motion that we have as far as the consent agenda? I know you mentioned that there were items being pulled, but I didn't know if you identified what the items were.
Mr. Klein, you proposed the motion. Would you like to restate the motion?
Right. So, Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda. It's a friendly amendment to remove the minutes from September 19th and October.
September 19th and October.
September 19th and October 19th, as well as 3 personnel from the consent agenda.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson? Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith? Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Very much. Okay. Now, what I'd like to do is go ahead and vote on the individual elections separately, as requested earlier in our closed session meeting. So we are adding an item onto the decision and discussion agenda. So is there a motion on the floor then at this time for the election of candidate 1 to be approved as per recommendation by the superintendent?
I move that we approve candidate 1.
Second.
There's a It's been moved and seconded for candidate 1. Ms. Jackson, can you please call the roll?
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
No.
Mr. Clanton?
No.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Nay. Okay. Candidate 1, all right. Is there a motion on the floor to accept the superintendent's recommendation for candidate 2?
I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation for candidate 2.
Second.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
Central office new hires that greatly
Mr. Clanton?
I concur. No.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
In order for us to retain and attract talent, to align with the efforts that we've identified with our board accountability plan, our strategic plan, the budget that we approved for the previous year, I think that the recommendations from the superintendent align with what the board was asked her to do, and so I support the recommendation and vote yay.
Dr. Gabriel?
Nay. Is there a motion on the floor to accept candidate number 3?
I move to accept the superintendent's recommendation for candidate number 3.
Second.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
classrooms in our schools who also attract these teachers.
Mr. Clanton?
I'm going to vote no. I do not believe it's necessary for duplication.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Well, I absolutely agree with Ms. their value, which is they're invaluable, but to definitely be more aggressive in correcting the pay in the schoolhouse. I still believe that we do need some administration positions to also support our schools. So I vote yes.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Nay. Okay. Moving on to the next portion of the agenda on decision and discussion, the monthly financial report. Dr. Boone.
Thank you. As Ms. Ingram comes forward, we have our monthly financial reports that the board has been able to review in advance of today's meeting. So I'll ask Ms. Ingram to bring forward the highlights.
Good evening, Dr. Gabriel, Dr. Boone, school board members. I'm going to bring you the highlights of our financial reports for the 7th accounting period of the school year that ended January 31st, 2019. Revenue received as of January 31st, 2019 is $174,140,373, or 52.8% of our budget, and that compares to 52.5% for the same time period last fiscal year and 50.6% in fiscal year 2017. On the expenditure side, as the same time period, we have expended or encumbered $164.5 million, or 49.9% of the budget, and that compares to 49.2% for the same time period in fiscal year 2018 and 51% in fiscal year 2017. And there were no budget transfers that were $50,000 or greater for the accounting period in January. And then the next pages are different presentation of the financial reports for the general operating budget with footnotes to explain variances between this year and last year, and same thing for child nutrition. Questions?
Questions from the board? Can I have a motion to approve the monthly financial report as presented?
I move to approve the monthly financial report as presented.
Second?
Second.
Second. Ms. Jackson, please call the roll.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
Aye.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Thank you very much. Ms. Basine, I know you had a question about the next few items that we had on the agenda. Did you want to put a motion on the floor regarding what you had just mentioned?
I move to remove item 6.04, School Board Accountability Plan, from the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yes. One of the reasons why I think we should remove this, it's been our standard practice, best practice, that items that come forward for action on our agenda involves the work often of committees, including the recommendation and support of the administration. It's my understanding that as part of this school board accountability plan that we currently have here, that that the administration has unreadiness, as do other members of the committee. And so I think we should pull it from the agenda at this time to allow for the committee to do its work and to be able to come forward at the appropriate time with a recommendation, an appropriate discussion, so that we can move forward as needed for the school board accountability plan.
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson? Mr. Clanton?
Nay.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin? Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Nay.
Point of clarification. So if a committee is charged with doing the work and all but one member of that committee is ready to bring something forward, so has this board just agreed to violate our norms and protocols? I just want clarity on that, because we have, as Mr. Jordan just stated, we have a process in place that dictates best practices on board governance, where we get input from our superintendent and the district leadership team. And as of date, I believe, Dr. Boone, correct me if I'm wrong, you have not had the chance to do that with your team. As we have benchmarks and targets in there that have implications for the division, I think it's extremely important. And if that's the way we're going to operate, where you take the input of one board member and not respect mine, then I'm no longer going to serve on that committee.
Okay. Ms. Basine, I respect your comments. The board has long discussed the revisions and the hybrid model of the accountability plan, and I thank you for your service. I thank Ms. Campson for her service. Just because something isn't agreed upon in a committee doesn't mean that the board cannot take action on it. The board can say to move forward, or the board can say to not move forward. But the purpose of bringing it to the board is so that action can be taken. Everybody has their own vote. And if it is the will of the board to move forward with an accountability plan, as it has bubbled up through this committee, through the intense discussions that we've had, work sessions, retreats, then it is up to the board. But we've got to keep things moving forward. And if it doesn't move forward tonight, it's okay. We will all support each other in what that is. And if it moves forward, I would hope that you all continue, since you said you won't serve, to support the will of the board as we want to move forward. So that's my response. I don't know if anybody else has anything else that they would like to add, but.
Well, if that's the position that the board is taking, then I say we make this a full board working effort where there is no committee around it.
Okay.
That we each individually, we work, the committee has received zero feedback from other board members other than the 3 meetings that we've had. So our long-standing discussions that we've had have been reduced to 3 board meetings. While we've talked long and hard about needing to discuss it, we've actually had 3 meetings on it outside of the committee. So I just want to clarify that point.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and proceed to school start times. Is there a motion on, oh, sorry,
Wait a minute.
Ms. Campson?
What are we doing?
I ask. Am I on? Not on, thank you. Otherwise, I have Brian down here giving me a look. The reason that came to the board gave us a time to have a committee report turned into the board. That was today. So my response to Ms. Basine, and she knows we've already discussed it, was that that we have now turned in our report to the board, and the board then should be making the decision about whether to move forward, not individual committee members, not Ms. Basine, not Lauren Campson. It should now be up to the board to decide if they're ready to move forward, and then we go with the will of the board. And I was very clear with Ms. Basine that whichever way the board went, I would do what the will of the board was, whether it was to move ahead or whether it was to kick it back and do the committee. And if it did come back to the committee, I would be working hard on it again based on what the board had decided.
So that is not an item that we were going to vote on just yet. We were going to start with our school start times.
Oh, sorry.
And I appreciate the discussion that we've had. Is there a motion on the floor in recognition of the conversations that we've had regarding the later school start times?
Madam Chair, I'd like to present the following resolution. The resolution of Norfolk City School Board concerning school start times. Whereas we recognize and acknowledge that significant national research and study have been conducted regarding the positive effects of school start times, and whereas we acknowledge that a change in school start times will provide for better students' health benefits and school performance, as well as being identified as a single intervention that could provide many benefits for teens. Therefore, be it resolved that the School Board of the City of Norfolk adopts changing school start times within the ranges presented at the February 6th, hold on, my correction.
February 6, 2018.
Yeah, great. At the February 6, 2019 school board work session, effective with the 2020-21 school year. The superintendent should move forward with the logistical planning and community engagement, and be it further resolved that the school board directs the superintendent to report back no later than December 2019 regarding the best possible options for shifting school start times for the planned implementation scheduled for September 2020.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
Aye.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
I'd like to thank Ms. Basine. She has championed this effort around school start times since her arrival on the board. She has really led this effort and making sure that there's been great community input around it. I also appreciate that we've actually followed a process where we've had work sessions and public hearings and community discussions and recommendations from the superintendent administration that we are respecting at this time in order to have this important piece of work go forward. I vote aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Thank you very much, and I certainly appreciate working with Ms. Basine on this effort as well. I remember meeting for lunch with one of the members of the Fairfax School Board members at our VSBA training, getting this process started, and they warned us that it would be a long process, but if you put the effort forward and did the proper legwork, it could be achieved, and I think that we are approaching this as a board the right way. We've listened to all of the community members who have given us the feedback through the surveys, and I appreciate the discussions that we've had leading up to this point. I look forward to the discussions having forward and having this division move on the later start times, and I vote aye. Thank you. All right. Next item on the agenda are educational planning recommendations. We've had considerable amount of discussion, starting with our previous board members on our educational planning efforts. Dr. Boone and her team have led the effort with cooperative strategies on bringing some proposals to the board to address a variety of items: programs, facilities, enrollment. And as we just discussed in our previous workshop, we have some items on the floor that we'd like to bring forth to a motion, and I appreciate the discussion that we just had so that we could get to a place where all board members hopefully feel comfortable with what we're about to propose. Is there a motion on the floor regarding the educational planning recommendations?
I'll make a motion. Okay, I make a motion. I move to accept the recommendation of the administration regarding the Lake Taylor Middle School conversion scheduled for the 2019-2020 school year, whereby Lake Taylor Middle School will be, with the current pathway, converted to a 3rd through 8th grade school, to convert Fairlawn Elementary School to a pre-K through 2nd grade, from Poplar Hall Elementary School to close Poplar Hall Elementary School. Further, the City of Norfolk School Board directs the administration to immediately begin the development of a comprehensive academic focus for the Lake Taylor K through 8 school, scheduled for implementation for the 2021-2022 school year.
Second.
Is it possible to get a copy of that in writing?
Copy it in what?
Of the motion.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have copies down there?
You want to give them your copy?
How about an original?
Is there any discussion?
Just want to be clear on the piece, current pathway. What was pulled out?
That came off.
Yeah. We didn't mention that.
We did.
I mean, the feeder pattern.
I'm sorry. Can you can you reread it then, based upon the? I'm trying to be clear on the pathway piece and also on the focus piece.
Are you saying it's messy?
Well, I'm just saying normally we'd have it on board now so we could read it.
Okay.
So I just make sure I was following it.
Take two.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I move to accept the recommendation of the administration regarding the Lake Taylor Middle conversion schedule for the 2019-2020 school year, whereby Lake Taylor Middle School will be converted to a 3rd through 8th grade school, to convert Fairlawn Elementary School to a pre-K through 2nd grade, from Poplar Hall Elementary School to close Poplar Hall Elementary School. Further, the City of Norfolk School Board directs the administration to immediately begin the development of a comprehensive academic focus for the Lake Taylor K through 8 school, scheduled for implementation for the 2021-2022 school year.
All right. Any
And that
discussion?
second remains.
Roll call. Ms. Jackson?
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
Aye.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
I'm still concerned about the impact on the South Side STEM piece. I'm gonna vote no at this time.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Thank you very much. On to our next item, the School Board Accountability Plan. We had just a little bit of discussion earlier about this. This is an incredible effort that was worked upon by several members of Dr. Boone's administrative team, Ms. Campson, Ms. Basine, who brought forth a really exciting plan that sets some benchmarks and targets Is there a motion on the floor to accept the school board accountability plan?
I have a motion.
Ms. Campson, make the motion.
Whereas the proposed City of Norfolk's School Board Academic Excellence Accountability Plan aligns with both the Virginia Department of Education and the U.S. Department of Education in its focus on academic excellence, and whereas the new accountability plan clearly outlines and establishes academic goals, priorities, and targets for the district and the superintendent, and whereas the new accountability plan goals call for 100% accreditation by 2022 and all schools high performing by 2024, and whereas the new accountability plan is designed to be a living document in alignment with the school board's approved goals, priorities, and targets that are periodically reviewed to ensure expectations and progress are being met and maintained. Therefore, be it resolved, I move that the Norfolk City School Board approve the adoption of the Academic Excellence Accountability Plan for the full implementation scheduled for July of 2019.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Dr. Boone, I know you wanted to speak to that.
Yes, thank you. While we received the draft of this motion this afternoon, I don't think that the motion as presented actually captures the documents and the what's out there. For example, if you look on the what's on board docs, it's called the Norfolk School Board 5-year plan 2019-2020 accountability plan. The reference of the title is not consistent with what's here, so I don't think that's correct in the motion. Secondly, the motion addresses alignment with VDOE and USDE requirements. That's not 100% accurate. There are aspects of the plan, the accountability plan, that align there, but there are other goals that we have as a community, as a school district, that are beyond that. So I think that term is not reflective of exactly what this plan serves to accomplish. I had hoped we would have some more time to be able to vet that particular motion because of that, but I'm just going by what was submitted from the committee, and that is not the same title that is there. It talks about a focus on academic excellence, but it was not defined as identified in that motion, and again, the VDOE and USDE alignment is not exactly reflective of what the plan accomplishes.
The academic parts of the first part from Goal 1, I'll read them to you.
So, Madam
Yeah, I
Point
have
of
the
order,
floor.
someone has the floor.
I have the floor.
Well, if we
The
get a
Virginia
presentation.
Department of Education, what they look for, their main indicators for accreditation and academics: increase the percentage of students meeting and exceeding SOL benchmarks, decrease the percentage of SOL achievement gaps for identified subgroups, increase the percentage of students making on-time graduation, decrease chronic absenteeism and dropouts. That's the Virginia Department of Education. The U.S. Department of Education, ESSA indicators, school accreditation ratings, that's and SOL scores, growth in making accreditation, growth in reading and math based on SOL pass rates, achievement gaps based on pass rates, high school on-time graduation, chronic absenteeism. First ones on this plan: improve student academic achievement and outcomes is our goal. Priority 1, increase the percentage of students earning full accreditation. Priority 2, 100% of school designated high performing, which is based on SOL scores. 3, decrease subgroup achievement gaps. 4, increase the percentage of students doing on-time graduation, and down in Goal 2, chronic absenteeism. So those are the things that are the academic part. We are tightly aligned. This is what the Virginia Department of Education says are the things that we should be doing, and what the U.S. Department of Education says that we should be doing, because they're representative of what's being done in high-quality education schools throughout the country. And that's the focus of this plan, is to make Norfolk, to return Norfolk to its high academic performance that we know we all had when this school district was recognized as by receiving the Broad Prize by being the best urban school district in the country. The potential's still there. They're still our kids. They are smart and they can learn, and we need to have high expectations for our children, and that's what this is designed to do.
Madam Chair.
See?
First, I want to thank Dr. Bailey and Mr. Fuddy for their participation and work on this committee, and I also want to thank Ms. Campson as well. We certainly made a lot of headway in the last month or so, 5 weeks, since we really delved into the nitty-gritty of this accountability plan. But I firmly believe that there's a process and input that has to be garnered from the superintendent, the district leadership team, from the school board, and I do not support moving forward with a draft that has not been vetted by the administration.
I have a question.
Question and then Dr. Boone, and then comment.
So are we going to receive a presentation on the accountability plan? I mean, I'm not quite clear. I know we have a motion normally, coming from a work session. If something was coming forward, we'd have somebody come like we did at the work session and had the committee come and present the plan. So I do have questions throughout the plan since we're going to be addressing it. And so I'd just like to get some clarity on the process, and also like to get an understanding. Dr. Boone mentioned that a motion came forward, or a draft motion came forward earlier. I never saw it, so I'd like to get some clarification on when that came and what the process was for that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Can he speak to that and then Dr.
Okay.
Boone?
Motion came in a draft form from me, okay, based on the information. I was asked to draft a motion, and I was asked for input back to have that presented, something that we'd be able to go from. I would like to point out in this that I've said all along in all of my discussions and all the work sessions, I think we've had 3, talk about this, that we set up a committee to work on this, to work with the administration and the superintendent's designees to come back, but also recognizing that this plan was a living document. And one of the things is, in order to be ready for July 1, we can't wait till June to approve a plan. That we need time to give the administration time to continue to vet. Like, this isn't the ending product. This is to say that we're going in the right direction, that this is the format that we're looking at that we like to have. I made it very clear in one of our work sessions that we were all over the place. Great things, but they weren't succinct. And that I think that there's been a lot of great work to bring it together. But also what we're hearing from the community in respect is having true goals. And I respect the comment that Ms. Smith made in the last work session, which talked about the percentages and actually going back and reviewing those. And I again reiterated, it's a living document, and that we would really lean on the administration to get into the details of where those things are. But as far as format, I feel like that this plan is sound. I feel like that it's leading us in the right direction, and it sends the right message to the community that this board is truly about academic excellence and returning our schools back to where they were, and making sure that our kids, when they leave outside of Norfolk Public Schools, that they are truly career and college and citizen ready within our communities. I think it sends a strong message back to our teachers and to those working in the school that this board is ready to move forward and to work with our administration and to truly take academic excellence seriously. So addressing back to the motion, be perfectly honest, if I wanted to make the motion here on the floor, we could. It's a courtesy. I didn't know a protocol that we had to send a motion out to everyone beforehand. I did to receive feedback. I did get it on some things when I got here, but it's not an area there. And as far as process is concerned, I keep hearing that. We assigned this to a committee. Ms. Campson is right in the respect that we gave a timeline that our chair identified, today being the day, for us to bring this to the to the board. And I've heard it even mentioned several times that we don't operate in silos and that stuff has to come before the entire board. This is the opportunity and the process for which is established for us to be able to do that, to have deliberation, discussion, and to take action. That action can be move forward with that, or that action could be to table it, send it back to committee. But I don't foresee the committee stopping its work. I see us sending a message to the community and the committee continue the work, and this is the direction that we want you to go into. Those are my comments.
So is that I'm not sure I was clear. You answered my question. So you said you were charged with drafting a motion, and you say you sent the message out, you got feedback. To whom did you send it?
I sent it to the superintendent, I sent it to the board clerk, I sent it to our chair, and I sent a copy of it to make sure that it was legally with our legal counsel.
So if it's a board's accountability plan and we're operating—
Mr. Jordan, I'm not going to be perfectly honest. I'm just not going to split hairs here. I did a courtesy to send it. If I wanted to come into this room today and make the motion, I could.
Yes.
That was a courtesy to request, is this in alignment? So we did that. So to say if you got it or not earlier is not germane, just to be honest.
I think it is germane because it's a action of the board.
I'm
a member of this board representing Ward 7. I have just as much right to input as any other member of this board. That is a protocol. It's more than just a courtesy. It's the way we used to function before we became dysfunctional. But I still like to know, is somebody from the committee or from the board who is putting forward this document going to present the document that we have before us, so as a board we can provide feedback to what's before us in terms of being able to take action on this item? Who's doing the presentation?
Or docs.
I believe that every time that Ms. Basine and Ms. Campson have come before the board, they have asked for us to provide them feedback.
Right, but we've had changes since the last
right.
work session. So who's presenting the changes, what I'm asking?
We were just going to adopt, was the plan to just adopt it as is without discussion?
The changes that you reference are?
I don't know because I don't have a red line version. What I do know is we had a work session. The committee presented at the work session. We gave feedback at the work session. Then this item has showed up on the agenda. So I'm trying, normally, whether it's a courtesy and all the other words people want to use, normally, if we have something that the board is going to act upon, there's a presentation. We receive the presentation on start times. We receive the presentation on other items. We receive presentations all the time. Now, all of a sudden, on this item that is critical and started long before 2018, we have this document before us. There are typos all over it. There's all kinds of questions I have around it. And so I like to have the opportunity to know who is going to be the presenter, because I have questions since we have this motion on the floor.
Ms. Campson?
Mr. Jordan, at the last time that we spent a couple of hours going over this, the third time, you said during that session, which I didn't catch until I went back and watched it, that why are we doing this line by line? The committee needs to just get it done and give us the entire document. And that's
Correct.
what we did. And we rushed to get it online Saturday morning. So, and then I followed up with an email to let everyone know so they would have time to look through it. And then if they don't agree with it, they vote no. I mean, I know 2 months ago or last month, I had a concern about an item that was up for a vote, and I asked, and I said I didn't have enough information, that I would like to postpone that vote, and it went to a vote, and the vote was that we would continue on and vote for it anyway, even though I expressed my need for more information. So when that happened, I said, okay, and I moved on because it was the will of the board that we move on and vote. And so we voted, and I had to vote even though I didn't feel I had the information that I needed. I expressed it at the time. But once the vote was made and the motion passed, then I accepted that as the will. And that's why.
All that's correct.
Excuse me, I have the floor now.
Yes, ma'am.
Could I just finish? I'm almost done. I've been sitting here and listening. So that's why when we were unable to completely come together on the committee, and there's some philosophical differences there, and I certainly respect those, and that's why I said to Ms. Basine at the time, then we need the board asked us to give them the report for this meeting. Let's let the board decide whether to move forward or not. And so that's what happened. I mean, who should be deciding but the board? If the board decides to move forward, then we move forward. If the board decides to kick it back to the committee, the board does that. I'm confused, and then it's the will of the board, which I've been hearing about since July 1, and trying to accept when the will of the board is not something I agree with. And so I'm not sure why it only is, it's not a universal thing. It seems like the will of the board, by some members of the board, they only agree with it if it's their particular opinion, whereas when it's not, there's no will of the board anymore. I mean, is will of the board not happening?
No, the will of the board will be the vote. A key point that you made, which I agree with everything that you said, but you started with, in referencing my comments about a committee recommendation, what we've established here is that we don't have a committee recommendation. So I agree with that. But I do have some recommended
what I was saying was
corrections that I'd like to offer whenever there's
all right.
appropriate time.
Okay. And please, let me do a disclaimer with my comments. I'm not picking sides. I'm not, excuse me? Oh.
No, I think that was just
Oh, I'm not choosing sides or anything else, but my concern is there were a couple of questions in the planning year that I asked last time, and that's back in the exact same format. And so I just need clarity, because if the implementation falls in how we implement this, a couple of questions that I asked last time, and again, it's back in the same format. We understand the aligned district accountability plan that moves from the work of the board. But when we got to the aligned school accountability plans, September 30th, school principal and school leadership, I made the comment last time that was more in reference to when we had an accountability system. We have worked with the Virginia Department of Education to have a school improvement plan that meets their requirements for school improvement, and I'm concerned that this is a directive to move us away from that, which we built a relationship with VDOE, and they're allowing our plans to serve both as the school improvement plan as well as the support for our school improvement grant funding. And so I am concerned about the messages that sends and what's going on. And then I also asked the question of what was the expectation around the district accountability planning and implementation, PD, for the summer? Because again, we weren't this is not the system, the comprehensive system we had previously. This is the board's plan, and so the end of the school year, the summer and early school year activities here create some incongruence with the work we're doing, and my understanding what we need to do there. So that's the clarity that I continue to see, even from the last meeting.
Ms. Hampson?
I remember those, Dr. Boone, and that's what the attempt was here, to change the school one so it says align with the school level accountability plans. I'm sorry if that was not where I read that back at the last meeting. I thought I made the correction per that because I knew Dr. Bailey had already informed the committee that the school levels were doing ESSA plans, and we certainly did not want to have them do a second plan. And so that was, when it was rewritten, I'm sorry if I didn't get it as clear as you meant, and that's certainly something that we can, as we continue going forward here, maybe have you write it exactly as it should be, because that's what I was trying to get at here, was that's why school level, whatever, maybe if I'd put ESSA. You know, I'm not, and that's
at this point I got a little brain fog, so I can't wordsmith as well as I did last time.
And that's something that later,
but that
just
planning
to let you know,
year
that was recognized. Certainly, the committee, everyone on the committee, as I recall, agreed that we needed to make sure we did not expect the school level, the schools to write something different than they needed to write, and that we just wanted to make sure that they were in line with the goals and the priorities of the school board, but not in what they were actually writing down. And then we combined all the planning. We just took out all that extra stuff about the teachers and the principals and left that open just for it to be kicked off then under your direction, because you would be designing what the PD was, not the board. The board won't be deciding that. So those two things were addressed. I'm sorry if the one on the school level one is not clear. Obviously, it wasn't, and certainly ESSA could be written in there. Would that clarify it enough?
Well, for me, I don't necessarily like to use the language of VDOE and ESSA, because while those are our benchmarks, that language is subject to every congressional session and changes in every legislative session. So so let me, excuse me, let me give some thought to what that means. But again, when it says aligned the school accountability plans, there is no specific school accountability plan, because that's not the language we currently use, because we don't have a comprehensive system.
Whatever it's called, it's no problem. When I read it back, there was so much conversation going on, and I was just taking notes at the time.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Thank you for pointing that out, Dr. Boone, and that's certainly something I agree exactly with what you're saying.
Clarification? Clarification questions? I can't ask clarification of what I'm voting on.
I'm going to limit you to 1 minute.
When do we start that? Okay,
No.
so let me start with my 1 minute. On the title page, 5-year plan 2020 to 2024. So it also says 2019 to 2020 accountability plan. So does the plan start in 2020? Does the plan start in 2019? Moving on the next page, there are items associated with planning year for 2018. The very first bullet says School Board Accountability Plan, February 28, 2019, school board members. I'm not sure what that means. The school board meeting on February 28, 2019. It says Align District Accountability Plan. We don't have a district accountability plan. Align School Level Accountability Plans. We don't have school level accountability plans. District Accountability Plan and Implementation PD Summer 2019. Not sure what that really is. As I mentioned earlier, for this to be about academic excellence, we have on year 3, 2021-22, absolute goal, moonshot, all schools fully accredited is typos. We have all kinds of typos in this document, and I would think that as a school board that is vested in academic excellence would take the time, proof the document, get it right, get an understanding, send it back to committee, and then act upon it. But if it's the will of the board to adopt this plan with all these questions and with all these typos in it, then so be it. And got much more, but I'm not allowed to speak beyond 1 minute on this important document.
You're on minute 2, so you can go. All right, Ms. Martin.
I just want to interject because I'm a bit disappointed. This we gave the board gave Ms. Bassine and Ms. Campson the direction to take this and format it. We've had plenty. It's been over 2 months. We talked about working on it. We finally got a system in place to work on it. There's been no barriers to feedback. It's been available in many forms over the process where they were constantly coming back to us with feedback. They've gotten input from the district administration, and Dr. Boone's been able to give comments as well. Again, this is a working document. This is a start for this board. The things that are in here, we definitely agreed upon, at least in consensus, on the priorities. Let me see. The goals, the very important framework of this plan, and I see the rest of the details as what a working document is, and that is to be constantly revised, and I expect that to keep happening because that's just the best way an accountability plan will serve our district. So, or obviously our board giving direction to our district. So I just want to express that I came in here in full support of voting to accept this so that we can provide the direction that we're supposed to be doing, to then work even more on the implementation details, so that, but at least to provide the direction, just as we are with the educational planning. We don't know the details of the educational planning yet, but we are at least providing that direction.
Jackson, can you call the vote?
Ms. Bastine?
Although, as a committee member, I'm not voting in support of it, I didn't give the approval to have it posted, and not voting in support.
Ms. Campson?
Voting for academic excellence for Norfolk Public Schools, yes.
Mr. Clanton?
I appreciate the work. I reiterate that this is a living document and that there will be constant adjustments and changes, but I think that it sends the right message to our school, our community, that we value academic excellence. So the vote is yes.
Ms. Smith?
No.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
The valuing of academic excellence doesn't start with this document or this vote. It's something that's embedded in the goals and the work. And the reason that we started with the school board accountability plan, in part, was we had so much turnover at the board level and the superintendent level. The Council of Great City Schools came in and gave a review to the division back in 2012. And part of what they said was that the school board focused on all kinds of things, dealt with all kinds of items, and didn't really focus on academic excellence. And we worked together, and Dr. Gabriel was a part of that effort. And we worked together as a board, as a team, to adopt a school board accountability plan. This is simply a proposed update on that school board accountability plan. This has issues and directives all in it that are way below the line. We aren't even given the courtesy of the superintendent to respond to it. This process is just totally dysfunctional, and we need to go back and read the Council of Great City Schools 2012 report, because I feel that we're going back 6-7 years, and absolutely not do I vote in support of this document mislabeled with typos and all the other things that are in it. I vote no.
Dr. Gabriel?
You know, my dad would always tell me that if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there. And tonight I am fully supporting a document, a plan, that is a working document that has goals, priorities, targets, and it clearly maps out the Norfolk Public Schools road to academic success. That's not to say that what's going on in our buildings right now isn't getting us there, because it is. We see teachers, staff members, principals working so hard. Their data rooms are incredible. The amount of energy that they pour, not just in the working day, but on the weekends, after hours, trying to get it right for their students. It is time for us to take action. I don't expect this to be the final document that rests with everyone, but this is the start of where we have blended all of the good things that you have just talked about, Mr. Jordan, and what Ms. Campson, what Ms. Basine, and what the administration has brought on board. It could not be more clear the expectations that we have to challenge our students and to close the achievement gaps. As your Board of Education, our duty is to deliver a high quality and safe learning environment for any student that we are lucky enough to serve. We are committed to this, and I fully believe that. I fully believe that everyone on this board is a champion for every student that we have in the division, and we do work hard. As Dr. Boone said earlier, we work hard, we put lots of hours in, we sacrifice so much so that we are here. This vote is the beginning of a journey, and it is a true celebration that comes. The true celebration of this document isn't going to be now we're having this discussion, but when we can say in 2022 that we are fully accredited, we're going to be celebrating. And that's going to be a great achievement for us all. And then we're going to celebrate high performing, and that's going to be an even greater achievement. So I vote aye. And the motion has passed. Last item on the agenda for matters of the board, I believe we had a discussion about a action of support on behalf of the celebration of Booker T. Washington commemorating their 102nd year anniversary. We had some good discussion about what the board would like to do. I think all of the board's comments on this and suggestions. Mr. Clanton, do you have an item that you'd like to bring forth to the board on how we can support this effort?
Definitely, and I'd like to preface this that I have incorporated some feedback from Mr. Jordan in this motion that you're about to hear. I move that the Norfolk City School Board contribute $1,000 from our school board budget in the form of a scholarship. The scholarship would begin the celebration in honor of the celebration of the students and staff of 102 years of Booker T. Washington High School to be used towards supporting a graduating senior or seniors.
Is there a second for this motion? There's a second. Any discussion? Lauren. Jackson?
Ms. Basine?
Aye.
Ms. Campson?
Aye.
Mr. Clanton?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Aye.
Ms. Martin?
Aye.
Mr. Jordan?
Aye.
Dr. Gabriel?
Aye. Thank you very much. All right, so we have quite a few dates coming up for our next meeting. We will be meeting. Oh, you have a couple matters. Okay. Wanted to just remind that many board members will be visiting schools for Read Across America Day, so we'll be looking forward to that. Please look at your calendars and make sure you're getting the calendar invites. Ms. Jackson has been pretty good about sending those out for our next meetings. And we'll go on to matters of the board, the rest of matters of the board. Mr. Mitchell.
Okay, I'll go first. Well, I will look at the camera because that's me. Good evening. First off, I want to say thank you for your contribution to the 102 years of Booker T. Washington High School. Unfortunately, the concerned citizens are out getting ready for Saturday, and so they are not here tonight, but they told me that I better say something. So just to let you all know, if you do not know, Booker T is turning 102. And we are so excited. Booker T was started in 1917, and we're still here today. 1974, $8 million building was put on 1111 Park Avenue, and that's where we are today, 45 years later. And so Saturday, we will be celebrating 102 years in our historical building. First, they will have a reception starting at 11 o'clock, and we ask that you be there on time, again, on time. People watching on 47 on time. Also, there will be the unveiling of the mile marker. Also, that whole program starts at 11. Finally, in the evening, there will be a program at the Half Moon Cruise Center in the beautiful downtown Norfolk. Please be there at 6:30. Please be on time. Also, I just wanted to say that Dr. Boone does a very good job, and 47 does a great job with the superintendent's report. I always joke around and say that they're following me because everywhere that I am, the cameras are somehow. Whether it be at Tidewater Park, because me and Schaefer go reading to elementary schools all the time. I was at Richard Bolin last week reading to the pre-K 4 class that is learning Mandarin. We went to J. Cox Elementary, and we were singing with some students there with Dr. Powell, their music teacher, and we had the business fair at Booker T, where a lot of black businesses come in, and we share with the students what it is to be an entrepreneur, and it's a very good thing. And then today at Booker T. Washington High School, we had the first black Navy SEAL to come, and it was an honor to be able to listen to him for a few minutes speak about his journey. So we're doing some some extraordinary things here in North Public Schools. It's not always bad. It's most times it's very good, but sometimes we have to go over those hurdles that we need to get over. And so luckily we did that tonight, and so we can go on and we can leave with smiles on our faces. Right. And then we can do all the extraordinary stuff that Norfolk Public Schools has in store. Thank you.
Madam Chair, it's an honor for me to read this small portion of this letter here. It states, Dear Jalen N. Mitchell, on behalf of the Hampton Roads Community Action Incorporated, it is our pleasure to inform you that you have been selected as a recipient of the 2019 Youth Leadership Award. This award is presented to a student who consistently demonstrates high academic achievement, service to the community, participation in extracurricular activities, demonstrated leadership, and respect for others. So Jalen, on May 9th, you will be presented an award, an actual medallion for your service, along with other individuals, about 650 individuals. I just want to say how proud I am to hear you as a proud product of this school district. I didn't go to Booker T, but I went to Moore, but we still got love. But we graduate. Alumni of the Government School, same music department, Virginia Opera. I'm just proud of the work that you are doing and how you are being a great ambassador for Norfolk Public Schools. And it's a great honor to be able to present this award and encouraging others to come out and support you as well.
Ms. Martin.
Okay, I just want to make a couple of one announcement and then a comment. The Special Education Advisory Committee normally meets the second Thursday of every month, and last week the meeting was canceled, but it has been rescheduled for tomorrow. We meet here in this building on the 11th floor, I believe, at 6 o'clock. So I encourage anyone, parents or community members or caregivers who can come and help us advocate for our children with special needs in our schools. Ms. Fitzenreiter, Dr. Fitzenreiter, who you heard from earlier in public comment, she's also a member of this. So we really need more people to be involved to help support these children. Also want to mention, yesterday the Norfolk Public Library Board of Trustees hosted a meeting with the Norfolk School Board. The purpose of the meeting was to get together and discuss opportunities and ways that we can work together to help serve our students, our families, and our communities, and our greater community. And I just want to thank, because it was getting a lot of very busy people together, and I just want to thank the Norfolk Public Library Board of Trustees for being so hospitable, and also just the wonderful information that they shared. I think that it was very enlightening to our board, and it really sparked some wonderful discussion and very promising. I think there are a lot of opportunities for us to work together. And I also want to personally thank Dr. Gabriel, Mr. Jordan, Ms. Basine, and Ms. Campson for being there. I know Mr. Clanton and Ms. Smith would have also liked to have been there, and unfortunately weren't able to. But thank you very much for your support. And it did take a lot to get that meeting together, like I said, and it was just wonderful to have you all there.
It was really good discussion, and in leaving that, we had some takeaways, and some of the takeaways was that we need to make sure that we have a meeting such as this annually, if not twice a year. And then we talked about some joint professional development as Dr. Boone hosted, or she inaugurated the literacy professional development over the summer, and we talked about how some of the librarians and the educators that they have through the Norfolk Public Library could join in that literacy professional development, so that when our students are at the libraries, that they are learning the same techniques that our teachers are being taught. And so I thought there was several items that came out of that meeting, and thank you for initiating it and hosting it for us. I thought it was wonderful. Dr. Boone?
I have one announcement. I was waiting for a text for the second one. So we have 4 of our high schools in postseason boys basketball play, and 2 of our high schools in postseason girls basketball play. Maury defeated its team tonight, and so about 3 minutes ago, there was under 2 minutes left to play, and Norview High School's boys team was up. So we could have 2 going on to the next level, of regional play. And so there will be couple of games this weekend, and Friday, Saturday, some games at Scope, some at host high schools. But I did want to let you know that tonight Maury won, and Norview High School is on the fringe of winning, unless something happens in that under 2 minutes. So,
Madam Chair.
Jordan?
I appreciate the work that Ms. Martin did with pulling together the meeting with the Library Board of Trustees and their staff. While I was there, I thought it was a very good concept. I left the meeting because the issue was raised whether or not it was a legal meeting regarding notice, and so I just whispered in the chair's ear that I appreciated what was happening, but because it appeared to not be an appropriate scheduled meeting, that I didn't feel comfortable staying there when the objection was raised and no comment was made. But I think it was great. I look forward to the next one, and I hope that we can have adequate notice when doing that. The other piece I just want to, many thoughts in my head. Let me go to Dr. Turner, whom I love, and who deserves all the accolade and support that she and the Norfolk 17 deserve. I hope that the city gets back to the memorial that was promised to them about 10 years ago. One of the things I wrote down that Dr. Turner mentioned was separate is not equal. And as you all know, we are elected by wards in Norfolk. Our wards are racially gerrymandered. You know, following massive resistance, we had massive persistence throughout our city. Redevelopment housing patterns were led by the city. Old Dominion University was placed to separate Black Labbers Point from White Larchmont. In my ward, Ward 7, I have all the public housing developments. You know, they were created as Negro housing. One of the things that was a little different 60 years ago, because of segregation, schools at Booker T and other African American schools, they were economically integrated, even though they were racially isolated because everybody had to go there. What we have today in Norfolk and by our wards, we have racial isolation and economic inequality. So in Ward 7, the per capita income for Ward 7, which is the black half of the city as it has been designed by wards, is $17,838. Ward 6, which is the white half of the city, is $32,164. Is the per capita income. So when we talk about these issues and we talk about being the cornerstone of a proudly diverse community, it's a reason why I bring these issues forward, because I think we need to be sincere about it. Last comment I would just make for now. I'm just very disappointed in our process tonight. It appears that the board is substituting its will and behavior for that of the superintendent. And since we did pass a school board accountability plan, the board needs to be held accountable. We worked hard in the past to prevent, well, I shouldn't say prevent, but to build partnerships with the state in support of our work around the school board accountability plan. We are going to invite the state to give closer scrutiny to our actions. I understand board members are making phone calls to the state. That's going to bring more attention to the state. So as we move forward and address our pursuit of academic excellence and the role of the board and the role of the superintendent. I just hope the board is willing to take accountability for the actions of the board as we substitute our judgment and will for that of the superintendent who we hire to run the day-to-day operations of the school division. Thank you.
So you all know my passion for sports, and that includes our school district. So Norview High School did win, and Saturday at 7 p.m., Maury High School will face off against Norview High School for a position. But the good news in that, and Granby plays Friday night at Scope. So what that means, NPS will be represented at the state level regardless. But
That again, Maury versus Norview.
No, they're
Maury and Norview High School. So the good news is Norfolk Public Schools will have a presence at the state basketball tournament.
So Granby is Friday night, and that's girls or boys?
Boys.
Boys.
And
Saturday
Norview High and Maury play Saturday at 7 at Scope.
I know that'll be on Facebook.
Facebook Live.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.